me start with you, my spirit. Okay.
Uh-oh, we got 20 new tweets. So I think they must have retweeted it. Oh yeah.
Wow, what did you tweet?
I said, hey, I'm going to be... Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. So feel free to tell me.
Alright, so I've already asked you, how you thought the whole interview went, but what do you think were some of the hardest questions that you had to answer?
Oh, well, I thought I kind of went out on the edge when I talked about the FDA going away completely or reinventing it. Well, reinventing it is of course, a proper way to say it, but when we talk about getting rid of the FDA, I think that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. And it looks like I've already ruffled some feathers when I talked a bit about the mind uploading, whether you might actually be that same person. But that's nothing I've said new. I think the thing I said new, though, was really getting rid of the FDA is something no one has heard from me yet, and that's probably gonna reverberate through the community.
Rowan, if you want to shoot more of a close-up angle about that.
Yeah. You can get a second one. That way we'll have two audios, Rowan.
Yeah, okay. Get like about a 45-degree angle from him. So, and then can you zoom in a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Let me sit down. Wait, it's still.
Yeah, just make sure you're getting a different shot, something closer.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So I'll say the FDA thing again. I have been planning in the last 6 months to write an article on the FDA. I am really disappointed with how long it takes for drugs to get approved. But I wasn't really necessarily prepared to go on air and say we should get rid of the FDA. Yet when David Knight said, hey, we should get rid of it, I was able to just say, you know what, it's true. I felt the same way, and I'm happy to start pushing that agenda out there. But that is controversial, and that'll probably get me in some big trouble.
All right. Was there any kind of like curveballs that he threw at you that you kind of wasn't prepared
Well,
for? I mean, that one kind of ties into that. But
I think one of the curveballs he threw me was about DARPA. I'm not that familiar with DARPA's history, but I think that the Alex Jones people, including David Knights, cover DARPA every day, or pretty close to it. So they know DARPA a lot better than I do, and they know DARPA's flaws, and I don't know all the flaws of it. So when I mentioned it, I could have potentially put my foot right into the middle of it without having enough background information on it. But I seem to get out of that okay. But I do need to be careful. I'm not an expert on some of these subjects. And if you're going to talk about it and not be an expert, you're entering a dangerous area.
okay. I'm trying to think what else.
I can say another thing too on religious transhumanists. I felt pretty good that I actually did speak a little bit about religious transhumanists. There's been a lot of anger in the community saying that, hey, we also exist in the transhumanist community. And I'm glad that I actually put out that, hey, there are transhumanists who are religious. It is a growing part of the movement. But I'm going to still remain an atheist and say that. And I know David Knights is a Christian. He advertises being a Christian on his Twitter feed. So I'm happy that I actually got a chance to combine a little bit about Christian transhumanism, as opposed to just being Christianity.
Okay. I'm trying to think what are the other big hot topics that I asked you about.
Yeah, there was. Oh my God, he asked me about my book. So it's always difficult when people ask me about the transhumanist wager, and it's always difficult when people ask me about the 3 laws of transhumanism, because they are not a part of my campaign, and I do not openly advertise that. And yet I'm known quite broadly for the 3 laws of transhumanism, so I have to explain it. But they can get me in trouble, and there's no way to run a country. And yet at the same time, they're very important for transhumanism, and I think they're important for my own personal philosophy as well. So there's always a balance to find there, and I try to kind of worm my way out of it a little bit. I think I did okay, but it is a dangerous thing to talk about in politics, because the 3 laws are very egocentric.
Yeah, he got you on the three laws, and he put them up the show of your Wikipedia. on the actual book had 3 laws at the bottom.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else?
What'd you think, Ron? Anything interesting?
That was great.
Yeah, it was one of my more. I'm getting a lot better.
Very.
I'm just getting better at this. That's the thing that I'm realizing is I'm just getting better at fielding difficult questions.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think it was always about being grilled, but the thing is I'm just better than not being grilled anymore. And of course, they worry about implants causing security issues, but they forget that we also worry about, transhumanists worry about security issues, that transhumanism was born out of a sort of libertarian philosophy in terms of that. And I think that's something that's really important for, for conspiracy theorists and Alex Jones type people to realize is that we are also worried about security. We also don't want the government prying into our lives. I'm less worried than they are, but I'm still considered a main thing to consider.
Yeah, I thought you did a great job making it very digestible to the average person.
Digestible is a good word because that's what I was trying to do without getting myself in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to be digestible.
I think you might have converted a few of the Alex Jones people into transhumanist type thinking.
Well, I just saw like 20 plus things on my iPhone on Twitter, so there's a lot of people talking about it, which is good. It's good to broaden it out.
Hey, Zoltan, I just want to say hi.
Oh.
I'm Rob Dew. I was tweeting you.
Oh, Rob, how are you?
Good to meet you.
Thanks
Yeah.
so much for having me and organizing this. I really appreciate it.
No, it worked out. We talked to Alex. He's like, oh yeah, get him in here. And he just happened to be gone this weekend. But yeah, it worked out.
Well, great. I told Nico that I'm anytime Alex wants to do it again or something,
Okay.
have him and me, I'd be happy to do it. I could fly here really easy, and I would just to do it.
Okay.
Because it's good for me, and I think like it went pretty well actually.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good hour of radio.
I think a lot of people don't realize that I actually have a huge amount of libertarian leanings, despite some of the other stuff. And so, if you work on that, it goes together well.
And I think a lot of that comes through. I heard the reason I knew about you was I heard the Rogan podcast that you did. And I don't listen to all of them, but I saw yours and I was like, oh, transhumanism. Let's see what's going on there. And the presidential with the election and all that.
That was
It's
in the
good.
very beginning, yeah. So it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
But hey, thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. Anytime you want me back, Alex.
Okay.
I'm pretty much always available. So.
Sounds good.
Doing
Oh,
this.
and you guys are heading to Louisiana now?
We're actually University of Louisiana first, but University of Mississippi. We're parking the bus right in front of campus. They have a whole big show
Okay.
for us, and I'm going to be lecturing to a couple classes that day.
All right.
Ethics and fun stuff, and so it should be really fun. We're getting into kind of different territory.
Sure.
We're leaving California, Arizona territory.
Oh yeah.
So it's
You're heading into the Bible Belt.
you can hear the people hooting more at the bus or honking more at the bus or just staring. Today's like people wouldn't go at the green lights. Everyone's like honking.
Look at what is that thing?
So yeah, it's fun.
All right. Well,
So-
good luck on your campaign and everything.
Well, thank you so much. Yes,
Yep.
yes, absolutely.
Can
All
I
right.
ask you
And
a
tell Alex
question,
thank you
Ron?
too.
Can I
What's
ask
up?
you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to live forever?
Not